Good morning. I am Susan Takiue, and I will serve as your MC for today's Obon Family Service. As explained by Reverend Blaine, Obon is a special time to remember and to celebrate our continuing relationship with departed loved ones who have been born in the Pure Land. Obon is truly a joyful celebration of memory which can offer us wisdom for living. A warm welcome this morning to Rimbang Reverend Kazunori Takahashi for driving all the way over from Hilo to be our guest speaker. Mahalo also to all of you who are attending in person as well as virtually. Assisting Reverend Blaine at the temple with technical support are Zoom crew members Alan Matsumoto, Stephen Kaneko, and Wendy Terada. Corinne Chang is our organist, and Betty Takioka will lead the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Reverend Blaine. Those of you on Zoom, please be sure to have muted your mics.
Namanda, Butsunamanda, 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 Butsunamanda.
An aspiration will now be shared by Reverend Blaine.
Namanda. Please join me in Gasho. We gather in the spirit of attained awakening in the Pure Land of Enlightenment. We extend our profound gratitude to them and reflect on how our lives have been made possible and enriched by their presence. During this time of Obon, we celebrate life and the enduring bonds of love which continue on. Obon is truly a gathering of joy in which both the living and those born in the Pure Land rejoice in the universal embrace of great wisdom and compassion. As we take time to remember, to reflect, and to reconnect with our loved ones with profound appreciation and joy, we recommit ourselves to becoming a good ancestor too, realizing that we are links between the past and the future, always creating the conditions for future generations. In celebrating the infinite causes and conditions that sustain our lives, may we come to realize the truth of impermanence and deeply entrust ourselves to the compassionate vow of Amida Buddha and live with the Nembutsu in our hearts. Let us endeavor to listen to the Buddha Dharma with not just our ears, but with our entire being, and strive to embody the teachings in all that we do for the welfare and the happiness of all. I go to the Buddha for guidance, the one who shows us the way in this life. I go to the Dharma for guidance, the way of understanding and love. I go to the Sangha for guidance, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Entrusting in the dynamic activity of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida, the Buddha of infinite light and life, in gratitude, joy, and awareness for the enlightenment and the life to come. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda.
Please be seated. To honor our departed loved ones in joyful remembrance, I will now read names submitted by Sangha members. Please observe a period of silent reflection during this time. Kazuyoshi, Ethel, and Dana Aoki. Yasuo and Setsuko Deguchi. Jane Emiko Fenske. Yasuo Fukumitsu. Marian Harada. Keith Hayama. Seiichi and Charlene Hayama. Melvin Hayashida. Yasuo and Hatsuyo Higa. Sakae Handa. Iwaki Honda. Kitsu Honda. Harry Honda. Tomie Honda. Yonekichi Iwasaki. Shigemi and Nobue Kaitoku. Chiaki and Sadie Kato. Henry and Kameo Kikuda. Wally and Miyoko Kusano. Tokutaro and Naka Kusano. Sally Murakami. Toshio Nagai. Ross Owe. Risaburo and Matsue Sakata. Sueo Sakata. Norman and Marilyn Sakata. Roy Shimamoto. Wilbert and Troy Shiraki. Satomi Takashiba. Herbert and Masako Takiue. Satsue Tanaka. Clara Uechi. Nozomu Uemura. Terry and Sharon Walden. Noboru and Takeo Yamamoto. Toichi and Chise Yamamoto. Gokichi Yamamoto. Gilbert and Aiko Yamane. Stanley Zakahi. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Let us now observe a moment of silent meditation. Reverend Blaine will now lead us in chanting the sutra Sambutsuge. Words can be found on page 47 in the Jodo Shinshu service book and on the screen. Again, page 47.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme awakening. The Sambutsuge, or hymn in praise of the Buddha, is a poem from the larger Pure Land Sutra in which Amida Buddha, as a bodhisattva, praises his teacher and makes his 48 vows to establish the Pure Land of enlightenment for the welfare and the happiness of all beings. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken us all. The hymn in praise of Buddha. Sanmai Chie jo isai gu gu shobu bunyo gudo kensho fungyak inyo goja shobun sekai bufukange mushu sendo gomyo shisho shokok shojin ijin nanyo ryoga sabu gokudo daiichi goshu kimyo dojo chozen gokunyo naion nimu toso gato aimin dodat nisai jiporai sho shinnet shoujo ito gakok geraku annon gobun shinmyo zega shinsho hotenga no hideki shoshoyok jipo seison chiemuge joryo shison shinga shingyo shinshi shokudokuchu nam.
Please rise for the singing of the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen. You may be seated. This morning, I am happy to introduce to you Reverend Kazunori Takahashi, Chief Minister of Hompa Honganji Hilo Betsuin, as well as Overseeing Minister of Honohina, Papaaloa, Honomu, and Papaiko Honganji missions. Reverend Takahashi was born in Nagato City, Yamaguchi, Japan, where his family temple, Joshiji Temple, is located. He attended Ryokoku University from 2001 to 2007 and obtained both a MA and B, sorry, BA and MA in Buddhist studies. During that time, he received Tokudo ordination and Kyoshi certification. His ministerial journey in Hawaii began in December of 2007, where he underwent orientation at Hompa Honganji Mission of Hawaii headquarters until February 2008. He was then transferred to Hompa Honganji Hilo Betsuin, where he served as an associate minister for almost 2 years. In December 2009, he was assigned as resident minister at Kapa'a Honganji Mission on Kauai. He served there until August 2014, when he was appointed as resident minister of Lihue Honganji. He remained there for almost 4 years while overseeing Kapa'a Honganji for several months during that period. In July 2018, Reverend Takahashi moved back to Honolulu and took on the busy role of executive assistant to the bishop. During that time, he also served as school chaplain at Pacific Buddhist Academy for 18 months. In July 2021, Reverend Takahashi officially became the Rimbang at Hompa Honganji Hilo Betsuin after serving in an acting capacity for 4 months. Reverend Takahashi's other accomplishments are having completed an intensive English program at Hawaii Community College, serving as instructor for the Jodo Shinshu correspondence course, and receiving certification from Stanford Graduate School of Business in the Executive Program for Nonprofit Leaders. Reverend Takahashi is married to wife Noriko and is a proud father of son Hironori. And I believe they're in the audience today. Could you please rise? Are you here? Oh, they're outside. Okay, they're outside. Okay. He lists his hobbies as reading, photography, and traveling. He has already visited 20 countries in Asia, Europe, and North America. Please give a warm, welcoming aloha to Rimbang Reverend Kazunori Takahashi.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Before I start my message, I would like to read Shinran Shonin's words, so please join me in putting your hands together in Gassho. When sentient beings think on Amida, just as a child thinks of its mother, they indeed see the Amida, who is never distant, both in the present and in the future. End quote. Namo Amida Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda. Good morning, everyone. It's really nice of you to attend this Obon service. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Higa Sensei, the Sangha members, and my friends of Kona Honganji Mission for inviting me as your guest speaker. Just now, as introduced, I served Hirobetsun as associate minister from 2008 to 2009. It was my first assignment, and I'm currently serving Hirobetsun as Rinban from 2021. Then, when I was a new minister to Hirobetsun, I sometimes came to Kona Honganji for various functions and made many good memories. In those days, today we can use Zoom, but in those days we didn't have that kind of technology. So for meetings and junior YB activities, I sometimes came at this site, and even now, so when I come to Kona, I still remember the time when I was a new minister, and after that, I served at the temples on Kauai and headquarters in Honolulu, and I returned to Big Island in 2021. And 3 years ago, too, I had an opportunity to be a guest speaker for Kona Honganji, but at that time, due to circumstances, I delivered my message via video. So it was a truly precious opportunity. Actually, it was a precious opportunity, but today I'm truly pleased to be able to meet you and speak in person today. So thank you very much. So today, we are observing the Obon service. When I first experienced Obon in Hawaii, I was really surprised because Obon is very popular. And especially the Bon dance is really popular. I heard that yesterday the Bon dance took place at the Kei Buddhist church, Buddhist temple. And this weekend, this coming Saturday, I heard the Kona Honganji's Bon dance will be held. Once there was a small incident that surprised me. When I was at Kappa Honganji on Kauai, one day, the telephone rang around 4 o'clock a.m. At that time, I was sleeping, but I was woken up by the sound of the phone ringing. Then I checked the time. Oh, what time is it now? Oh, it's still 4 o'clock a.m. Oh, this is probably an emergency call. Then I answered the phone and said, oh, hello, Kappa Honganji. Then a person on the phone asked me, excuse me, when is your Bon dance? I checked the clock again, 4 o'clock a.m. He just asked that question. Honestly, I wondered why he called me at 4 o'clock a.m. Do you know why? Yes, yeah, thank you for your answer. Yes. Actually, the person called me from the mainland. But I answered, oh, our Bon dance is scheduled for, it will start at 7:30 p.m. Then he told me, thank you. I will visit your Bon dance this year. See you. Then he hung up. It was 4 o'clock a.m. Actually, he called from the mainland. I think he didn't notice the time difference, but I said, oh, thank you for your call. Please visit. However, the telephone call reminded me that the Bon dance is a really popular event. I hope nobody calls Higa Sensei early morning at 4 o'clock to ask about the Bon dance. But anyway, needless to say, Obon is a religious event. It's a very present event for Bon dance, but Obon is a religious event. It is an important opportunity to listen to the teachings, remembering departed loved ones. It is also important for families to get together and observe the service. I think you may have various ideas about Obon. Actually, this event originates from the story of the Ulambana Sutra, one of the Buddhist sutras. In this sutra, there is a story about Mokuren, or Moggallana, who is the second disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha. Mokuren was a great disciple and had a magical power somehow. One day, through using this power, he tried to look for his departed mother. He wondered where she is, how she lives after her death. However, he saw an unlikely situation. His mother was not in a good place, but in the place of hungry spirits, which is the second lowest world. At that time, Mokuren was very shocked. After Mokuren saw the situation, he visited his master Shakyamuni Buddha. Then he listened to his advice and sincerely did the practice that Shakyamuni Buddha taught him. As a result, Mokuren's mother was saved and reached the land of peace. So at that time, the Mokuren was so happy and clapped his hands and danced with his friends, according to the story. Based on this story, we listen to the teachings, remembering departed loved ones in this Obon season, and enjoy Bon dance. Some of you may be familiar with this story. I briefly talked about this story. Therefore, sometimes this Obon service is called kangie too in Japanese. Kangie means joy, and A means gathering. So the kangie means a joyous gathering, and the Obon service is sometimes called in this way. Then, today, I would like to deliver my message, sharing some story with you. This is my favorite story, and this story impressed me and made me remember the teaching of Nembutsu and the significance of this Obon observance. This story is about a company in Japan. Every year, that company recruits university graduates and holds an entrance exam and interview. I think many companies or organizations do the same thing in the United States too. Then in that company, at the end of the selection process, the company president always interviews students. At that time, he always asks them 2 questions. But his questions are a little bit unique. His first question is, have you ever given a shoulder massage to your mother? Have you? Have you ever given the shoulder massage? But normally, students answer yes to this question. His second question is, have you ever washed the legs of your mother? About this question, students normally say no. Usually we don't have an opportunity to wash the legs of the parents unless the person does the caregiving. Then after that, the president tells the students, okay, I understand. I will give you 3 days. If possible, if you are able to meet your mother, please wash the legs of your mother and come back again for the final interview. According to the story, the students always surprised at his questions because they don't expect such questions. But normally, applicants receive questions like, oh, why do you want to work in my company? Or what is your skill? What is your goal? I think those questions may be common, but in that company, the president asked, oh, have you ever washed the legs of your mother? So in the book I read, there is an episode about one of the students. After the interview, he thought, is this the final test to enter the company? However, after he returned home, then he returned home. However, it was difficult for him to tell his mother that he wanted to wash her legs because they don't have that kind of conversation usually. Yeah. But he had to finish his mission, and then he finally said, "Mom, can I wash your legs?" Then his mother said, "Do you want to wash my legs? What's happened?" She was surprised at her son's request, so he explained the reason. After that, they went to the yard. She sat on the chair. He brought, she sat on the chair, then he brought the foot bath and filled it with water. After that, he said, "Mom, I'm ready. I will wash your legs." Then he lifted his mother's legs to wash. Then at that moment, he was greatly shocked at something. The sole of her foot was very dry, rough, and stiff. He noticed it after he touched her foot by his palms. He had never seen and touched the sole of her foot. At that time, he was really shocked. And then actually, in that family, his father passed away when he was a child, so his mother worked hard to raise him. Then at that time, he was thinking, "Oh, my father passed away when I was a child, so my mother always worked hard and raised me. Since she always worked hard, her legs are like this." It was the first time for him to see the sole of her foot carefully. After that, his heart was too full for words. Then he washed the legs of his mother. After he washed her legs, he just said, "Oh, Mom, thank you always. Please live long and well." His mother also said, "Thank you very much." Her heart was too full for words. His mother was saying, "Oh, what's happened? Do you wanna wash my legs?" But after his son washed her legs, she was also very, became emotional. Then after a few days, he had an interview with the company president again. Then he said to the president, "Oh, I washed the legs of my mother. It was a really precious experience. Thank you very much." Thus, he expressed his appreciation. After that, the president said, "Oh, I am pleased to hear that. Please remember that it is not you grew up by yourself. You grew up because your father, your mother, and so many people supported you. From now on, you will work in this company. However, you cannot become a full-fledged professional by yourself. I became the president because my boss, co-workers, customers, my family, friends, and so many people supported and nurtured me." Thus, the president gave his message to the student. After this interview, the student was accepted by this company and started working. So this is the story that I read, and I was really impressed, and I wanted to share with you. Do you know why the president always tells students, "Please wash the legs of your mother"? And there is a reason. The company president thought, through the management, he realized that even if there is a good system or business strategy, the company never grows unless the staff has a thankful heart for others. Therefore, he always tries to make incoming employees have a true feeling of appreciation. I'm sure that even the student I introduced, I think he had a feeling of appreciation to his mother, but his appreciation deepened after he washed the legs of his mother. I said that this story reminded me of the Nembutsu teaching. Buddhism teaches us that it is important to be aware of what we have already received or what others have already given us. In the story, the student didn't realize how hard his mother's work was at first. After he washed his mother's legs, he realized that his mother always worked hard for him. And then this story would teach us that if we become aware of what others did for us, we would have a feeling of appreciation or gratitude naturally. The Buddhism emphasizes the importance of appreciation and gratitude, but at the same time, it's important to know what we have already received or what others have already given us. I think there are many other things we might take for granted. Then as we become more aware of all that we receive from parents and other people or departed loved ones, our ancestors and our surroundings, we cannot help but be grateful for everything. The Shinran Shonin said as follows: "My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet the great compassion without tiring illumines me always." End quote. According to Shinran Shonin, it is difficult for us to notice Amida Buddha's compassion, but he also emphasized that Amida Buddha is always working for us. We always put our hands together, in front of, Amida Buddha and say his name, Namo Amida Butsu. And although then Amida Buddha is the Buddha who has great wisdom and compassion and always working for us. But then we always listen to this teaching. But Shinran Shonin said, it's hard to perceive the light that grasps me. But Shinran Shonin said, Amida Buddha is always working for us. He also said, when sentient beings think on Amida, just as a child thinks of its mother, they indeed see the Amida who is never distant, both in the present and the future. Parents take care of a child before a child recognizes parents. I think nobody asked parents to take care of us when we were born. Parents take care of a child before a child recognizes parents. Amida Buddha thinks about us, even if we don't notice his existence. Then the Amida Buddha has been watching over us since even before we became aware of him. Then it is said that Amida Buddha is always calling us. Actually, we cannot hear his voice as an actual voice from Amida Buddha, but when we hear the sound of a tree, we can say, wind is blowing. When we hear the sound of trees, we can say that wind is blowing. Likewise, this is a really wondrous phenomenon, but when we hear the sound of Namo Amida Butsu, actually Amida Buddha is calling us. And when we say Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, and this is my voice, but we can hear the sound of Namo Amida Butsu. But this is really a wondrous phenomenon, but Shinran Shonin teaches us that Amida Buddha is calling us. Amida Buddha is always calling us. I know you have worries. I know you have suffering, but I will never abandon you. I am always with you. I will save you without fail. Please entrust your heart to me, saying my name, Namo Amida Butsu. Then, in response to Amida Buddha's calling, we say, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. I entrust my heart to Amida Buddha's working. Through remembering Amida Buddha's compassionate working, we can firmly live our daily lives with great strength, with full of appreciation. And then the former Gomonshu of Honganji said that there are two key words to walk the path of Nembutsu. Actually, these words are Japanese words, but you may know these words. These words are okage-sama and arigato in Japanese. Okage-sama means thanks to you, or thanks to others, or thanks to seen or unseen things. Arigato means thank you. He said, in the Nembutsu path, in the spirit of okage-sama, we must be aware that other lives enable us to live. And in the spirit of arigato, we must live through life responding in gratitude to others. So now is the Obon season. So I wanted to share the story that I heard before. And this is a good opportunity for all of us to remember the relationship between our lives and other lives, and the relationship between our lives and departed loved ones. Also, the relationship between our lives and Amida Buddha. So through this Obon season. So let us continue listening to the teaching of Nembutsu together and live our everyday lives saying Amida Buddha's name, Namo Amida Butsu. So again, thank you very much for your invitation today. So thank you very much. I'm so glad I can share the Dharma with you. So thank you for listening. So let us put our hands together in a show and let's recite the Nembutsu together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, 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 namandab.
Thank you for your very meaningful Dharma message, Reverend Takahashi. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. May I now call on Glenda Yamagata Pasalakwa, who will lead us in unison reading of our pledge. Please join her in the recitation. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen. Glenda.
Thank you, Susan. Our pledge. Reaching out to others, I will share a smile and gentle words, just like the Buddha who always calls out with aloha, breaking away from my greed, anger, and ignorance. I will try to live in peace and harmony, just like the Buddha who shares tranquility and kindness with all. Moving forward from self-centeredness, I will share a life of joy and sorrow with others. Just like the Buddha, whose caring heart always embraces us. Realizing that I live because of others, I will strive to live life to the fullest with an attitude of gratitude, just like the Buddha, who promises to embrace us all.
Thank you, Glenda. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo, everyone, for your generosity, which helps to sustain our temple. Please rise as we will conclude the service with singing of the Gata Nembutsu. You may be seated. This concludes today's Obon family service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. Friday, July 26, BWA will be making their famous manju for sale at the Bon Dance. They are asking for volunteers to help out starting at 9 a.m. in the kitchen. So if you are available, your help will be much appreciated. Again, that's this coming Friday at 9 a.m. Big event coming this Saturday, July 27th. It's our Kona Hongwanji Bon Dance. There will be lots of Ono food and awesome craft booths. The evening will start with Hatsubong service at 4 p.m. for those families who have RSVP'd. Craft fair and food booths will open at 5 p.m. Bon dancing will begin at 6 p.m., so please join us at this festive event. We will be grateful for any volunteer help, such as setup, cleanup, and manpower at the temple merchandise booth and concession stand. A list of volunteer opportunities is included in Reverend Blaine's Friday email update. And you may see Stephen Kaneko if you'd like to volunteer for any of these positions. Your kukua will be appreciated. And Stephen Kaneko, could you stand up so we all know who you are? So anybody here today, if you'd like to sign up with Stephen, thank you very much. There will be no Sunday service on July 28th. Sunday, August 4th, Hiroshima Remembrance Service will be held at 10 a.m., sponsored by the Kona Hiroshima Kenjinkai. Saturday, August 10th, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi will present a seminar entitled Shifting from Please to Thank You, A Path of Awakening, live here at Konohonganji. Registration and information are included in Reverend Blaine's weekly Friday email. And I believe there is There is a handout on the table in the back there, this handout. So we hope you can join us. And on Sunday, the following day, on Sunday, August 11th at 9 o'clock a.m., there will be a Obon service at the Holualoa Temple. Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi, retired minister from the Buddhist Temple of San Diego, will join us in person as the guest speaker. There will be no service here at the Konahonganji Temple. So please join us there if you are able to. Reminders, Bon dance practice will be held at 7:30 p.m. on Monday and Thursday this week. Bon dance at Kona Koya-san Daishiji Mission will be held on Saturday, August 10th, starting at 6:30 p.m. Are there any other announcements, Reverend Blaine or anyone else?
I just want to thank Reverend Takahashi for joining us and for sharing the Dharma and to his family today. Thank you, Sensei. It's good to have you. Thank you.
I just want to announce that Friday was our Reverend Blaine's 39th birthday? Oh, no, that's Blaine, sorry. Anyway, he's still young. It was Reverend Blaine's birthday, so we would like to wish him a happy birthday. Any other announcements? Okay, if not, thank you very much, Reverend Takahashi, for being our guest speaker and for your family for joining us too. To our Sangha, mahalo for your physical and virtual attendance. For those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. Those of you here today, refreshments will be served in the conference room. Much appreciation to Elaine Nakagawa, Linda Nagai, and anyone else who brought goodies to share. Please stay healthy and safe, and we hope to see you at Saturday's Bone Dance and at future services. Mahalo.